please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 230109.4. A secret rendezvous has been agreed upon to make a suitable deal that allow us to combine our military might and Exterminator subfleet headquarters. The only problem is, the Div wants me to stop calling his wench a slag. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or twat. Today we're going to start with Keffel's trending on Twitter. Keffel's trends quite a lot, usually because Keffel's mouth or hands write a check that the rest of her can't cash, which is unsurprising. Hell, the last time she wrote a check that she couldn't cash, she went into hiding with a GoFundMe, when she tried to go to war with Kiwi farms that are, as far as I'm aware, still up. Because it turns out, no, you can't delete shit off the internet no matter how hard you try. You managed to move it, multiple times in fact, when you got your simps on your side, and it did, if anything, increase your popularity and the disdain equally held for you, Keffels. Keemstar had tweeted out, Mr. Metka currently live on his last stream before he likely passes away from his battle with cancer. Jim was one of the most entertaining YouTube commentary streamers. Had the pleasure of being on the same streams with him in the past. He will be very much missed. Mr. Metka's deep dive videos are legendary. Absolutely fantastic content. He never took anything too seriously, was highly informative, and knew when it was time to laugh, even at himself, something which many, including the likes of Ethan Ralph, couldn't fathom. Mr. Metka was also yeeted off Twitter by Keffels, because it turns out, while unironically ban evading, she got him for ban evading. And you will be hard pressed to find anyone that thinks Mr. Metka was not one of the best commentary streamers around. Keffels retweeted Keemstar with, Metka and his community constantly called me transphobic slurs, and encouraged harassment against me and other trans people. Honestly pathetic he used his last days on this earth to be such a piece of shit, instead of reflecting and doing something worthwhile. He won't be missed. I like that you put full stops in there, but you can't be asked with capitals. Second, the tweet wasn't about you, but you had to make it about yourself. Typical narcissist in action. Another related tweet. Mother Effer dedicated an entire stream to me, where he coined the term Troon Shine to refer to hormone replacement therapy. I absolutely do not care that he got cancer, that's a skill issue on his part. What's interesting is, he rose to popularity through skill, entertainment and hard work. You, by crying foul, raising vast sums of money and getting mainstream media on your side, by using every victim card you could get to do it. And then when you didn't get your own way, you had people yeeted off the site and thought you had a win. When in reality, if I remember correctly, in the case of Metka, he didn't care. He just went and watched more anime. You Keffels are a living, sentient tragedy. That's what you are. Not because you're trans. You use that as a weapon and a shield, but entirely because your poor decisions shape the kind of person you are. You are taking somebody who is quite severely ill, somebody that can laugh about being severely ill, but is severely ill nonetheless, and making it about yourself. All because, woe be me, they were mean to me. Even though no one asked you for your opinion, no one asked you to contribute, you had to make it about yourself, because you are that arrogant. I have no doubt you had many father issues when you were a young person. Chose words very carefully there, I don't want to be accused of being transphobic. Effort. You are also a dickhead, so this award is for you. Well done, you smeghead. Moving on from Keffels, the consumer of Troon Shine, let's go to director Arcata, who tweeted, is she aware her profile picture basically is the clown emoji? Is it trolling after all, or is it just a manifestation of cognitive dissonance from a person who had likened sexual abuse to parents teaching a child, quite successfully, to defend themselves from assault flawlessly? The reason why is because Bette Midler, well, she put out an image, a rather pointless one in retrospect, with the caption, this is an actual example of grooming, this is Kyle Rittenhouse. The images of Kyle Rittenhouse as a child holding on to one of those pew-pew devices. By this logic, when I was 8 years old and my dad took me hunting for rabbits, and I had a teeny tiny pew-pew shot thingamajiggy, that surely means he groomed me by that reasoning and logic? Yeah, is that how this works? When supervised, and properly educated on the uses of firearms. It is not grooming, it is educational. In our formative years, if we learn to be more responsible, we are less likely to partake in criminal activities. Now, I am very much aware someone will respond to me saying that by saying, yes, but what Rittenhouse did was criminal. A court of law would say otherwise. And as I respect firmly the law of the land and the ruling of the jury, I will not call him or consider him a criminal. That might not be a popular opinion, but people like Bette Midler, using her platform to push this narrative and agenda, is only further proving the point of poisoning the well through blind belief of something that was not what it seemed. And Bette Midler should be better than that. Then again, I'm sure the germs from her not washing have seeped into her brain years ago. Next, some bait from Yeti Yef.
I bet you can't
Name a better movie released in 2022 than
Wakanda Forever.
Now, while this is obviously bait, I think we should, well, give some options that are superior. And I'll even include Avatar: The Way of Water as better than Wakanda Forever. In fact, name every single movie that's been released this year, even Thor: Love and Thunder, and it is better than Wakanda Forever. Why? Because you didn't recast Black Panther. You pushed ahead with the MCU, which has, beyond belief, aggravated so many people. It surprised us, because many people on social media do not like Letitia Wright. Her opinions during the Koofness garnered a considerable amount of negative attention, yet Shuri has been put to the forefront, in favour of doing what Boseman's own family said would be more respectful. So a list of movies better than Wakanda Forever, released this year: Glass Onion, Avatar, Babylon, The Banshee of Blah Blah Blah, Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical, Violent Night, Top Gun Maverick, Bullet Train, Strange World. Do I need to continue, or has my point been made? Moving on, we're going to go to some Twitter racism from Alejandra Caraballo. This is Chaya Rachik, creator of Libs of TikTok. I've used them for sources because it's a hilarious Twitter account. Genuinely very funny. They find all the most batshit insane stuff. And yes, what they've tweeted is a bit, You've heard of Elf on a Shelf, but have you heard of, and then there's a tap on Chaya's head. Now, I didn't know what this meant. It wasn't until I saw this via the supreme grifter swatter extraordinaire, who tweeted Caraballo as being straight up racist to Libs of TikTok with this tap on a Jap pun. JAP, not for Japanese, apparently means Jewish American princess. Didn't realise that was a thing. I genuinely did not. And so I agreed with Jessica Pizzle, who tweeted, not gonna lie, I was like, spout on a clout, bib on a lib, spigot on a cricket. I had so many thoughts, but tap on a Jap was not one of them. And that's because I've never heard of this acronym. There are many different acronyms that apparently are quite racially insensitive these days. And to make a point to pwn another person, this one, in the case of Alejandra Caraballo, is a bit, well, ever so slightly wrong. If you have to take an argument with another person or a disagreement with somebody you don't like, and then resort it down to what can only be considered a racially insensitive remark, it speaks volumes about the level of intellect you are operating with. This is often why many people online go anon, because the moment you know what they look like, you latch on to what they look like, a part of them that's arbitrary, instead of focusing on the issue itself. This is why I fundamentally disagree with Jordan Peterson on the argument of anonymity shouldn't be there for serious discussion. I firmly believe the anonymity should remain there, because the points are still valid regardless of where they came from. It could come from somebody that everyone hates, like Amber Heard, and if Amber Heard is still correct, she is correct. What she is, who she is, what she stands for most of the time mean very little in the context of whether you're right or not. And Libs of TikTok, they just mock people. Why? Because people are stupid. They show the video of what they're doing that makes them a clown. Nothing more. Moving on. Thuso Van Zyl. Orania must be banned. We cannot have a white-only town in South Africa. Not acceptable. If white people want to live on their own, they must go to Europe, not in Africa. You know how the Wakanda Forever thing felt like bait? This does too. You often find you can devolve this back to the simplest of populations. Prison. And people invariably segregate by race, by faith. Hell, the prisons are already separated by gender, unless they want to push that inclusivity that's led to an increase in certain types of SA crimes. If a town is all white, you could just move some people there, you know. Reply underneath from Johan. Why worry about Orania? That should be the example for our government that it's impossible to build something out of nothing. But the rest of South Africa can be like that if money are not looted by the very same people you voted for. You are mad at the wrong people. others commenting, "We cannot have a town in South Africa where everything functions and people work hard, heaven forbid." Reply to that, add to that non-existent murder and those rates, and near 100% pass rates, completely incompatible with South Africa, gotta be destroyed by midwits. It's interesting to me to see a very different cultural interpretation and discussion between people who are from South Africa or people who might be a little bit more inclined to just bluntly put it, because keyboard warriors, when it comes to disparities. I thought South Africa was busy seizing all the land from white people anyway, doing a Zimbabwe. I thought that's what they were going to do. Next, my friend Carilius Valentinius, or K Valentine, tweeted, "Literally nothing you've ever said is true." As you can see though, there's something wrong with the tweet. To which I replied, "I can't see it." Kay ended up saying, "Neither can I because I was blocked." I though wasn't blocked. The tweet was, "Kyle Rittenhouse was raised to be a white supremacist," that word. I guess this ties into Bette Midler quite handily. Someone had underneath pointed out, "And what are these fine kids being brought up to be, please explain yourself, including people of colour and their children holding firearms?" Talbot Swan, "That's obvious. They're being brought up to protect themselves from white supremacists like Kyle Rittenhouse." Talbot Swan's Twitter account is mostly quite, racist, and a misunderstanding of basic fact and statistics. For example, you would think the fact that white men killed 2 million white men in the Civil War, 34 million in World War I, 82 million in World War II, and killed 88% of white people that are murdered in America today would be enough for them to shut up talking about black-on-black violence. It's a false equivalence. A huge false equivalence. I mean, we could bring up stats of black-on-black violence in Africa if you want, but I don't know if they kept records. By the way, excusing any crime of any kind and comparing it to war is a fundamental misunderstanding of what is going on. Additionally, you are comparing the crime and ignoring the crime. So when someone says history should never be forgotten, but we also need to stay in the present, something needs to be done about the violence in the black community, that's a valid criticism. Dealing with the root causes of the rising crime within communities is important. Fobbing it off by comparing to wars is not remotely acceptable. Also, I have a sneaky feeling Talbot Swan doesn't actually understand statistics, based on what I've seen from his Twitter account, which I've archived and put down below for your personal enjoyment. Many channels on my time on YouTube have been hit by YouTube's demonetization, many of whom have been hit because they've been mass reported by those that would otherwise, let's say, support, or just because someone they don't like or do like. Reasoning for it is often arbitrary and contentious, subjective and pointless. Barbecue Chicken recently tweeted, "So my channel is no longer eligible to monetize, I guess someone reported it." Barbecue Chicken has started another channel called Barbecue Chillin'. That is where you will find monetized content. I highly recommend you go there and subscribe if you're interested in clips and responses to stuff going on in world. The final thing I'd like to talk about today, Kurt Angle and Kelly Kelly were both trending on Twitter, and this one cracked me up to no end. Basically what had happened is, Max Caster, in a rap music video, had dissed Jeff Jarrett. Lines about not drawing a dime, Global Force Gold, being a carny, ripping people off, stealing money like it's Kurt Angle's wife, worse since Jeffrey Dahmer. Gotta love some of the spice coming out of AEW at present. Karen Jarrett, formerly Karen Angle, had said, "Funny and sad how all of that has been swept under the rug over all these years. Jeff didn't steal me from anyone. Hashtag Dawn Marie, hashtag Kelly Kelly, spelt wrong, hashtag Deanne's, I don't know who that is, to name a few." Which has everyone immediately say, did Kurt Angle do Kelly Kelly with a broken freaking neck? Did Kurt Angle do Kelly Kelly? Really? Oh, that makes sense really though. Kelly Kelly did her rounds in WWE, didn't she? Dawn Marie surprised me. Deanne Sidon? Whoever that is, I haven't got a clue. Anyway, it's quite funny to me because all of it came out of a simple rap song. The only time I found Jeff Jarrett remotely interesting is when he was on a show discussing Jerry the King Lawler and Andy Kaufman, which was one of the best things to come out of that territory. It really was. And concerning Kelly Kelly trending as well, one thing that tickled me to no end was the fact that someone had to point out Kelly Kelly's only reign as Divas Champion is still longer than either of the reigns Ronda Rousey had as WWE Women's Champion. I just wished I had archived the tweet first.